Good morning, friends and family, and Heart and Home Orlando and Heart and Home Richmond friends and family. I am so excited about today's topic. It has been one that I really wanted to dive a bit deeper into. We've touched on it many times. We've talked about it, whether it was clients purchasing or clients selling, or if it was just a listing. And we've kind of sprinkled in some information, but I really feel like it deserves its own day. So it's going to have its own coffee time topic today. Some of the other stuff is going to be sprinkled in, but good morning to everybody. I still have that cough. I wanted to take a minute because, it occurred to me that, I dive right in every Monday. I'm so excited to see you guys and to chat with you that sometimes I forget that people watch this randomly that haven't been a part of our little journey that we've all had for so many years now. So I figured I'd take a quick little hot minute to kind of introduce myself to anybody that might not be a consistent viewer, client, former client, future client, just person who's bored and has nothing better to do with their Monday mornings at 9 than to hang out with me for coffee time. But I do think it's important because there's a lot of people I know that they watch later in the afternoon, they watch this evening, they watch tomorrow, they watch next week, they watch next month, maybe even next year, and they may not necessarily know who I am. So let me give you a quick overview. This was always my husband's job, so I'll have to give a quick little introduction as to who I am. So my name is Amy Kidwell, originally born and bred in Virginia, moved to Florida years ago for my husband's job, started my real estate career there, and have been very fortunate and blessed in the huge, busy market of over 26,000 realtors, I believe it is now, in the Orlando market. To consistently rank in the top 50 as a single agent is huge, an achievement that I didn't plan for, nor did I want, candidly. But what I was doing, I guess, was resonating with people in a different way than real estate and real estate agents typically do. Coffee time was originally started as a time and a chance for me to chat with clients and just a way to stay connected with everyone because it gets busy, right? And if I had a chance, every single one of my clients, I would love to sit down and have a nice long conversation and have coffee with them. So coffee time started out that way. And then, as many things do when my husband's involved, it would get a little bit bigger and a little bit broader, and it would reach a little bit further. And of course, everyone fell in love with Eric too. If you are new and you haven't watched this, our Heart and Home Orlando, which now I have expanded, I'm dual licensed, not only in Florida, but also in Virginia. So we have Heart and Home Orlando, Heart and Home Richmond, can sell in the entire state of Florida and in Virginia as well. But those are kind of my little nuggets. But we started doing this, and coffee time became this real fun thing that I looked forward to on Mondays. You guys have followed us along when our girls were, I thought back the other day, I was like, probably from when they were engaged and got married to when they became pregnant, followed us through both of their pregnancies. Both of my girls found out they were pregnant within, 3 weeks of each other, through the births of those babies. And then, of course, through my husband's illness and then his eventual passing. So you guys are more than just my friends and family. You are my support system. So I hope I can be that for you too. So I wanted to share a little bit of that quickly with those of you that might be watching for the first time or have just watched a few times and don't really know. That is my husband you see back behind me. My sweet husband passed away in January of 2025. So we're about 15 months into it now, I guess. January, February, March, April. Ooh, yeah, it's 16 months into it. And it's all still a blur. We're not going to talk about that. Grief is another episode. But today we're going to talk about 55 plus communities. And honestly, because it was something that when he passed and I sold our home, I'm clearly in that demographic. I've thought about it. I've had many clients purchase in 55 plus communities. I've had them purchase new construction and build in 55 plus communities. I've also had them purchase resales, and I've had them sell the home that they built I've also had them sell the resale that they bought. So I have a really good kind of full circle viewpoint on that. The only thing I don't have is living in it, but I will tell you, lots and lots and lots of clients, and we do stay in touch. So I feel like I got a pretty good idea of what they would tell you in those private coffee time conversations. We're just going to go ahead and have a public one today. All right. So first of all, put my glasses on so I can read. I actually have notes today, so you may see papers flipping around. It's because I get off topic. I love to talk, and I want to make sure that in the course of this, we not only get to everything that I want to touch on, but if you have questions, we answer those. And super exciting, we're actually going to be right after coffee time today, premiering another video like we did around the homes for the holidays. This one is going to be a 55 plus community in Moseley, Virginia. So in that little Richmond market, this is a smaller new construction community. And we're going to talk about that community, and we're going to show you their model home right after we have our coffee time chat. So with that, coffee time to you, my friends. I have water today because the dogs woke me up at 6 a.m. So I've been up for a while. So the main thing is, what is a 55 plus community? Now, FYI, not every state really has 55 plus communities or makes it as big a deal as it can be in certain areas across the country. However, there are 55 plus communities, and it is something that is becoming a bigger brand. And I do say brand because there are some true brands out there when it comes to 55 plus communities. But, you know, people are living longer. They're staying independent longer. But that doesn't mean that they still want the big grand home. That doesn't mean that they're not empty nesters. Maybe, you know, they are now retired. Maybe they're semi-retired. There's all sorts of things that people, you know, happens in their lives. They become a widower. And, you know, perhaps they're just thinking about, well, what does it look like for me from here on for this next little chapter of my life? And 55 plus communities may or may not even come up in that conversation. But interesting fact. So by 2030, that's like around the corner. By 2030, all baby boomers will be over 65, and they already make up one of the largest groups driving the housing demand, especially in the 55 plus communities. So let's keep that in mind. By the way, I had my question that I posed to you this morning in our little chat bar. I know a lot of you that watch are not able to chat with us live. Any of you that joined in here late, I know Susan, I saw Daryl's picture. Anybody that popped in late, you know I love you and good morning to you. But I am going to make sure that I keep on track because, again, so much to chat about today. So the question that I posed to you, and feel free to answer this in that little chat bar or just answer it to yourself privately wherever you are right now. When you think of 55 plus community, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Because I do think that this can be a little bit interesting as to, you know, to what your impression is. So on that note, we're going to get started. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get going with our brewing topics. Okay, I love, so whenever I have the little bumpers, those little moments for me to take a sip, which I haven't done yet, I love looking over in the chat bar and seeing some of you are like, this is a great topic for me. I'm getting ready to hit that demographic, or I'm in that demographic, or I've been considering this myself. That's exactly why I'm doing this. You know, I am in that demographic. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of wisdom that comes once you feel like you can say you're well nestled in that demographic. It is a different mindset, isn't it? But I love this. I love that you guys are all chiming in over there. So here's our brewing topics for today: the lifestyle and the home style. I had to combine. There's a lot to talk about. Lifestyle and the home style, the rules, and the financial and long-term considerations for 55 plus communities. Now, again, full disclosure, I'm excited about this. I love this concept. It may not be for everyone, and that's okay. A regular house isn't for everyone. A townhouse isn't for everyone. A condo isn't for everyone. Luxury lakefront living isn't for everyone. So it's really about knowing that it is an option. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? What are the practicalities of it? And what are some of the things that you should consider good or potentially a challenge? And does it really align with you, who you are, and how you see yourself living, or what is like your lifestyle if you were a big social person or maybe you're not? So these are the topics that we're going to discuss. All right. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the actual lifestyle part of it. So here's some things to note. So in the lifestyle aspect, this is kind of like a two-in-one topic. The lifestyle part, many people choose the lifestyle of a 55 plus community for the low maintenance. And when I say low maintenance, it's not just that they take care of your lawn, because they do, but it's also, irrigation systems. Sometimes those irrigation systems are also covered then with the HOA. They take care of that. If there's a broken sprinkler head, if there's an irrigation problem, they take care of that. Some of them actually even clean the exteriors. Maybe they even clean the gutters. Maybe they even clean the roofs, or there's so many things when it comes to that. Not even just the landscaping, but it's also things like pesticides. Do they treat the lawns? Do they keep those lawns looking lush and vibrant? Do they nurture them and feed them when they need to be feeded? Do they weed the flower beds? Do they replace shrubs and flowers when they either go or when they need to be replaced? They edge the lawns. There's so many things about the home maintenance that is really, really important. Yard maintenance, we talked about that. The exterior maintenance. They don't necessarily do roof repairs, by the way, or like if you're in Florida and you have exterior stucco cracks, it's not so much that they're going to fix those, but there's a lot of things that they're going to do essentially that's going to help you and make that far more of a low maintenance type of a lifestyle. That is 100% one of the reasons that people do that. Now, by the way, there are communities that are non 55 plus communities that also include complete lawn maintenance, edging, weeding, replacing shrubs, and all of that. So if that is what you're looking for, and if 55 plus, the other things that we're going to discuss here shortly are not things that really resonate with you, but you're like, I sure would like to not have to do my yard. Well, first of all, you can hire people to do your yard. There's plenty of landscaping companies out and about all across the country that you can have and pay for that service, and they will come and maintain your lawn for you at whatever degree you want it. If you want it manicured, there's companies for that. If you just want like a quick mowing, every other week, there's companies that will do that. But there are also really nice, lovely, vibrant communities that are non-categorized 55 plus, that within the HOA includes your lawn being mowed and edged and all of that. So there are options, but I will tell you, for 55 plus communities, that is definitely going to be something. Low maintenance is going to be huge, because let's face it, it might have been fun to maintain your yard for a while. It may have been something you took great pride in, but as we get older, as it's a little bit more difficult to get out there sometimes and do some of those things. And the things that you used to be excited about now are a chore, and it takes away some of that time. Some people still love it. I will tell you, in Virginia, before we moved to Florida, our neighbor across the street, his yard was immaculate. Now, it wasn't 55 plus community, but he really enjoyed that yard work. He had his own aerator and everything. So think about you and how that works. But I will tell you, low maintenance is a huge factor. The other piece is going to be the built-in social environment. So when you think about these 55 plus communities, everybody is for the most part at the same age, stage, phase of life. They're not all going to be the exact same age, but you're definitely all within the same demographic. And there is a built-in social environment. You're going to be able to immediately probably connect with people on a different level than you would if you were in a different type of community. You're going to see people out more often because they are retired or they are semi-retired. Whatever the case is, there's more opportunity for you to see people that are in the same age, stage, phase of life. You're going to probably, most likely, have a lot more in common with them right off the bat. So the social atmosphere, which to be honest, is something that I'm speaking for me, but and for some of my friends, when you are busy in that beautiful time of life, when you are younger and you're married and you are growing and raising your family, your priority is 100% within that little nuclear spot, right? The exterior socialization sometimes is minimized. Sometimes it's compromised because of where your focus is. And sometimes we lose some of those friendships, or we just lose kind of the ability to get out and to meet and to greet. Plus, we're older. We may not want to do that. But when you are in a 55 plus community, there is a built-in social environment right there, literally your entire neighborhood. So the next piece that we're going to talk about is going to be the resort style amenities. Okay, these are off the chart. So This also depends on where you are. Now we're going to talk about, weather and things like that. But in most cases, you are going to be able to find communities that have really, really extreme, extravagant, over the top amenities. We're not just talking like a pool and a fitness center, but yeah, pool and a fitness center. Sometimes there's multiple pools, but you have pool or pools. You have the fitness centers. You have the pickleball or the tennis courts. You're going to have all sorts of amenities. You're going to have walking trails. Sometimes those walking trails even have like mile markers on them. Sometimes even at those little stations, there's water stations, there's little workout stations. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to go on that 2 mile walk, and then you're going to stop and do a couple little, arm curls or something. There's everywhere you look within these 55 plus communities, some of them, there are going to be extravagant amenities. There's going to be parks. There, I won't say playgrounds, because remember, we're probably not swinging on that swing set of the monkey bars, but you're going to have, common spaces. Some of them have beautiful gardens, walking trails, like we said, dog parks. You're going to have all sorts of amenities built within the community, giving you not only, opportunity for you to have fun, but for you to now, with your new friends, your new neighbors that you've met, you're going to have the opportunity to meet with them and socialize with them a bit. So some of the other things that some of these amenity centers have, even restaurants, yeah, or snack bars. Some of them even have like poolside dining. Remember, we are talking a very broad spectrum. So it does depend on the community, because not all communities are at that resort style living level. Some of them are far more quiet and more intimate with fewer amenities. And all of that is going to come into play for what feels right for you. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any of those, because there are just so many of those. But not only do you have, and I wanted to mention this too, there is actually a 55 plus community out in Claremont, Florida, that had on-site pet grooming. They had on-site pet grooming. They had massages. There's so many different things that some of these communities offer. And the amenities is one of their big selling features, to be honest, because it's about that quality of life. Some of them have ballrooms, like big ballrooms, partitioned off so you could have small gatherings or large events. They have full service kitchens, whether it's for you to, have an event that's an event for the community itself, or whether it is a private event. Maybe it's an official retirement party that you're throwing, and you're able to do that by utilizing that space, utilizing that full kitchen, whether it's having it catered or taking advantage of some of the activities, which is going to be the next piece of this puzzle. So not only do you have the amenities, you've got the rooms and the space, but now they are going to provide you with actual activities. So it's not just that you get to go to the pool, but if you want water aerobics, you can do a water aerobics class weekly, daily, however it is scheduled. If you want to, focus on your physical health and you want to go to the gym and you want to work out, or whether you want exercise classes like yoga or Pilates or jazzercise or Zumba, those types of things exist within these communities. You've also got fitness centers where you can have actual training if you want to do that. There are rooms for you to play cards with friends, whether it's cards or mahjong, or I don't play that one. Some of the other things that you can do in the smaller interior sections of these amenity centers and these clubhouses that they have. There are wine rooms and wine cellars in some of them. There are craft rooms. So you can go and engage in art. You can draw, you can paint, you can be crafty. There are so many activities, and not only are there activities, but there is typically an activities coordinator. And that person is going to be responsible for keeping that social calendar full with all the things that you want to do. And you don't have to, by the way. This is not if you don't want to join in any of these, that you have to. You can do what you want. But the point is to know that it exists. It also provides you with outings. So field trips, if you will, right? I know that at Disney, there's a lot of the 55 plus communities that are near and around a proximity to Disney that will do field trips, and they basically will drive everyone there and then they will pick them back up. There are field trips to museums. There's field trips. But there are outings to these places, to farmers markets, just to shopping. So they really are helping you fill your life with fun things to do, ways to socialize. Now, for some of you, you might be cringing right now and you might be going, oh no, that is not for me. I am not that person. I'm an introvert. I'm shy. I'm not a joiner. I don't like to do those types of things. Okay, maybe then a 55 plus community might not, or that elaborate and a community might not be on your radar. But there are many others where everything is far more modest. It's not quite as extreme. I've actually had clients tell me that living in some of the 55 plus communities there in and around the Disney area in Orlando, Florida, feels like they are living on a cruise ship. They said it's just every day is just filled with, it's wonderful. You're retired. There's no real responsibility or commitment. You can meet friends for coffee. You can meet them for lunch. You can go have a snack mid-afternoon. You can go play cards. You can have your book club. You can, go to the pool, spend the day at the pool. You can go off and go tour something, go do something with some of your friends that you've met there in the community. It really is an outstanding way to utilize your time and to improve the quality of life for some people. And again, some people already have this vibrant lifestyle, and some people need a little bit more of a reminder that, hey, we've raised our family. They're kind of often on their own now, and it's time to get back to us, or to me, if there is no longer a we. And that is important to note too. So one of the things I want to push back on that slide for is that, again, the activities are just off the chart. So the amenities and the activities go hand in hand, because it's not just, oh, there's a pool at your disposal. Sometimes there's a pool at your disposal and, hey, do you guys want to meet up for water aerobics tomorrow? There's so many different things to do. The last piece of the lifestyle aspect is that these homes and these communities are designed for convenience. So the whole concept of the community, the layout of the community, the homes themselves, which we're going to talk about in a minute, are all designed for convenience. Everything is walkable. Most everything is going to be a one-story. There's fewer steps. There's going to be close proximity to the things you need or the ability to get you there if there's something that you need. Everything about these communities is based on the convenience of someone in that 55 plus demographic. Also, things like large showers. This is more in the home style, but things like large showers with zero entry, grab bars, if that's something that you need. Now, keep in mind, these communities are not necessarily ADA compliant necessarily, but I have had clients, because not everyone that's 55 plus demographic needs all of that. Not yet, maybe later, but not now. But I have had some clients that have needed some of those things to be incorporated into their home build, and the builders were able to accommodate those. Some of them were very specific requests based on their needs. So there's some ways that if you're like, hey, I already need this rail in the shower, okay, that can be done. I've had clients do 2 rails on either sides of the staircase going up instead of just one. They requested a second handrail. So there are some things that you can do to make it convenient for you, to make your quality of life and the mobility of your life to be a little bit more calm and collective. And the other one, and I didn't actually put it up here, is the safety. So in these 55 plus communities, at least a lot of those that are in the Florida area are gated. That is going to be a hit or a miss depending on where you are and where you are across the country. But most of them, or many of them, can be gated. Sometimes they're gated just with the gate, and then sometimes it's guard gated. There's actually a security guard that mans the guard gate, and you have to either have your clicker, because I'm old, I call it a clicker, to open for residents, to open the gate so you can automatically go in. And then there's the side for guests, friends, or family that are visiting to go so that they can make sure that they check your ID, they check the license plate on the car, and they sign you in. They know that you're coming, because safety is an issue as well. Now, that being said, I'm going to sidebar a little bit. I've had a lot of clients that have homes in these 55 plus communities that is more for their private vacation home or their private second home. And so they love these types of communities because they know there's low maintenance, right? So everything's being taken care of on the exterior. So no one's worried about whether or not you cut your grass, or if your the grounds people showed up to to cut your grass while you were back home, wherever. And the gated aspect, they know that, people that are there are residents or that they have been, checked in. So there is a safety factor too. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual home styles themselves. Now, this is, again, going to vary per community. All right. By the way, if you've got questions, pop those in here. Feel free. I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can. But because we're premiering that video after this, I want to make sure I don't go cuckoo crazy with getting off subject. But so now we're going to talk about the styles themselves. So there are 55 plus condos. This is a lot of people will get into a 55 plus condo community, more so because the level of entry is a little less financially because it's a condo, not so much a single family home. So the financial investment in the beginning is a little less, although the HOA fee can kind of make up for that sometimes. But it's a much smaller type of a living arrangement, and that works really well for people who travel a lot, who are just kind of part timers. They're just there every once in a while. Those are great. And I actually have clients who have not necessarily in a 55 plus community of condos, but has essentially retired and gone into condo living because of all the things that we just said. It's smaller, more manageable, no maintenance, right? Because they don't have to take care of the roof or the AC or the exterior because it's a condo. So there's some benefits to that. The other home style that I want to talk about too are villas. You might think of a villa like a duplex or a paired home. Here's the picture of it. And it's so funny. I can't wait for wishes because we have one of those closing tomorrow. Super excited for them. But if you look at these two pictures, the top picture is going to be a more traditional single family home. But that bottom picture is an example of a villa. It's just two houses side by side with a shared wall. Sometimes the shared wall is the garage, which I think is a little nicer. It's kind of lovely. And then sometimes it is the garages are on the outside. It just depends on the concept of the home. But then you have one neighbor, and then you have your own exterior side where you don't have a neighbor. That is something that I will tell you, a lot of people like those as well, because they can be, anywhere from maybe 1,400 square feet up to maybe 1,800 square feet. So a nice size for one or two people, right? And those are typically 2 bedrooms, maybe 2 bedrooms with a flex space. But again, if you're trying to minimize and you want a little bit of breathing room, but you don't really need a lot anymore, a villa is a nice idea to consider. Excuse me. But we also have the more traditional, what everyone is assuming is a single family home, 1 story. Obviously, as we get older, part of these 55 plus communities is that all the primary bedrooms are on the first floor because in most cases it's just a 1 story home. Not always, but in 99% of the cases, it's going to be a 1 story home. And in those homes, you're going to have things like wider doorways, wider entryways. You're going to, as we said before, typically it's going to be a 0 entry shower with benches in there. So there's going to be some preliminary accommodations for mobility that you may not have any challenges now, but you may have them in the future. So it's giving you a little bit of a precursor and the ability to be able to move forward and to move around, quite literally, in your home. So now the other thing to note is that some of these communities have 2-story homes. Now, it's really a 1-story because that primary is going to be on the first floor. It just is. It's a 55 plus community. Primary is always going to be on the first floor, but they may offer you a 2nd-story option, which is typically either just a bonus room, like just an extra bonus room, an extra flex space. Do what you want with that space. Sometimes there is an extra bedroom and bathroom as well as a bonus room upstairs. And a great example of that is by Pulte Del Webb. They have something called the Mystique Grand. And I have had shockingly many clients build the Mystique Grand because not only does it give you a beautiful 1-story floor plan with lots of room on the first floor, but upstairs provides you a huge, it's a really big bonus room with an additional bedroom and an additional bathroom. And there's quite a few floor plans that are going to offer that for you if that's what you're looking for. Now, that type of a home structure is going to be great if, hey, you have no mobility issues right now and you want that extra fun flex space upstairs and you can just enjoy and entertain. Many people will use that for, the kids or the grandkids. If people come and visit, they want to have that extra fun zone for those family members that might be coming to visit. Now, on that, I always say, and this is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful quote that his name was Martin, and he was he was it was a builder friend of mine, and we were out showing homes to clients one day, and he said, you know, they don't, because a woman really she wanted like a 7-bedroom home, and it was just for some friends to come visit very rarely, but she wanted to have the space. And he said something that has always resonated with me, which is, they don't build the church for the congregation that just comes on Easter Sunday. So in other words, build your home for you, for what services you now. You don't want to have an entire home when people are going to only come utilize that extra space very, very rarely. Now, you can do what you want. It's your money and it's your life, but it was a really good way to think about it. You do want to have that space potentially, but make sure that the core of what you're purchasing services you, because you're the one that's living in it 365 days, right? That it's important that it works for you. If you've got the extra money and you just want that extra space, that's fantastic. But I have to tell you, even myself, the house that I'm in now, by the way, I sold the house that my husband and I, had together, built together. Emotionally, I just needed to do that. The house I'm in now is primarily a 1-story floor plan, but it does have a bonus room and additional bedrooms upstairs. And I don't really ever go upstairs even now. So it does make you think, in hindsight, should I have done that? So we all have to question that. So I'm just giving you a little bit of information to think about it before you go. All right. Before we head on to our next little piece of this, I want to see if anybody's popped in over here. Ames, you said, I worry about my grandkids visiting and wanting to stay, and I worry about assessments. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could potentially just, be questions or concerns. And that will actually put us right on into our second topic, which is actually going to be the rules, because this is a big one. Again, grabbing my notes just to make sure I don't miss any of these great topics. All right, so the rules. Well, first of all, let's talk about the age requirement, because that's the main thing, right? 55 or older with some flexibility under the Housing for Older Persons Act. So with fair housing, okay, you're not supposed to discriminate against age, which is why the Housing for Older Persons Act exists, because it does give you an age restriction on these communities, but it's not necessarily what you think. So there's an 80% rule. And what that means is that 80% of the homes need to be occupied by at least one person that hits that or fits that demographic of 55 or older or better, as some people say, right? So I have had clients where, husband or wife was 58, their significant other, their spouse was 53. And they both were able to buy the home, not a problem. And this also is helpful when you have things like, maybe you have family members that are going in and buying together because someone needs a little bit more care or assistance, or maybe it's siblings. And I've had that before, where I've had 2 sisters went together and they purchased one of these 55 plus homes. And, one of them was 56 and one of them was 54, and it still was fine. It works. But the key is that 80% of the homes need to be occupied permanently and owned by at least one person that is 55 or older. So one of the other things that people talk about, by the way, is the HOA rules when it comes to some of the exterior things. And this is important too, because I like to mention, because this is a real thing. So fences, all right? Just like any HOA, guys, any community that has a homeowners association or a homeowners association, property owners association, whatever your area calls it, is going to have those rules that you need to abide by. And some of those restrictions are going to be the color that you can paint your home on the exterior, or again, things like fences. Now, in most cases, you can fence in your property. However, I do know of a 55 plus community where no fencing is permitted. That's crazy. And I've never heard of that before, but it was true in this one particular 55 plus community, which may or may not be a big deal, but a lot of people have pets. A lot of people have, they have a dog or they have a cat, or they need to have a space for their pup to go outside and go potty. And maybe they don't want to walk all the way to the dog park because it's, 11 o'clock at night. So it is important to ask those types of questions, but that is something that the HOA is going to have control over. They have a say-so in, can you build a fence, and what material is that fence made of, and where are you going to put the fence? The other things are like those pets that we were talking about. It's can you have pets? If so, how many? What breed? What size? And it sounds like that's getting way too into your business, but again, that's just making sure that you don't have someone that's got 15 cats in their home and lets them all outside all of the time, or that it's a person that doesn't have, 3 really big, dogs that are difficult to control when you're trying to take them out on walks. I mean, there's just a number of reasons, but essentially HOA, these rules do exist. Some of the things, they're going to have a little bit more control over your yards. Flower beds, remember, they're doing the maintenance on these. So does that mean you can't have a garden in your backyard? No, it doesn't mean that you can't have a garden in your backyard, but it does mean that you need to make sure that you approve that with the HOA, or if you want to put a flag out front, or if you have just some little decor item that you want to display out in your yard. Do things like that need to be okayed with the HOA? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. I mean, they're not going to, tell you can't have that, entry mat on your front porch, but they might tell you that really cool, well, replica looking thing that you wanted to plop in the middle of your front yard might not be approved. Maybe in your backyard, that would be fine. It's important to note that. Another thing when it comes to rules is things like parking. Okay, there are some of these communities that do not allow you to park on the street. Most of them do, but some of them you can only park in the driveway or in your garage. No boats, no RVs, no campers, things like that are typically not permitted to be parked and kept. Now, if you're moving out and you've got a U-Haul truck for a day or two, that's a short-term thing. If you are bringing your RV because you're giving it a quick clean because you're getting ready to go out on tour, I think that's a different thing as well. But you cannot house them there. So these are things to note. So does that matter to you? Do you have one of those things that you would need to figure out where it's going to stay? Or is that really irrelevant based on what you're doing? So back to Ames, one of the things that you were talking about was the guests, the children, grandchildren visiting, how that would work. And so, yes, there are some restrictions when it comes to that. Remember, people are choosing a 55 plus community because they want to be with like neighbors in a specific age demographic. It's not that they don't like children. That's not what it means, but it does mean that perhaps they're really ready to not have a basketball hoop in the neighbor's front driveway where all the neighborhood kids come and play basketball at 11 o'clock at night. That's why some of these restrictions are in place. Now, I will say that doesn't mean that they can't come. It doesn't mean that they can't stay or that they can't spend the night with you or they can't spend longer with you. There are just restrictions and rules regarding that. Sometimes the guests, friends, or family cannot, if they're not of the age demographic, they don't really want them using some of the amenities. But I will also tell you that there are communities and brands like Four Seasons by Kay Hovnanian, specifically the Four Seasons community in Kissimmee in Florida. They have 2 pools. There's the pool for the residents, and then they have a secondary pool. If you do have, young kids, your grandkids are visiting you, of course they want you to enjoy that. That is about your quality of life. So they're not telling you that they can't come, that they're barred from the community. It just means you have to understand that for the cohesiveness of the community and to keep with the integrity of the community, you can't have your 6 grandchildren that are ages, 3 to 16 staying with you all summer long. And there's just reasons for that. I will tell you, I know I've heard some stories about the way residents sometimes try to work their way around those rules. But the point is they're in place for a reason. As a very big rule follower, I respect rules. I don't necessarily always agree with them, but if they're in place, I feel like they're in place for a reason. A reason I may not understand or I may not agree with, but if I've chosen to live in a community that gives you these rules, then I need to abide by them. But that does not mean, the biggest thing is to remember, it does not mean that your kids and your grandkids can't visit you and they can't stay with you, because of course they can. You just have to make sure you're doing it within the correct guidelines by that community itself. That's a big one. And that was honestly one of my big ones. Another one to note when it comes to the community and the rules are the rental aspects. So most of these communities are not in a short-term rental area. Therefore, you cannot, if you're using it as a snowbird home, you cannot necessarily rent it out while you're not actually in the home. So if that is something you need to do, you're like, well, look, I'm only going to be in it. Like, I just like to spend January, February, and March, and then the rest of it, I'm back in my regular home, wherever that is. But those 3 months of the year, I like to come and stay in the warmth or just be wherever it is that I'm going to go, whether it's Florida or not. You just have to know that you can't necessarily rent it out those months that you're not there, unless you are in an area that is zoned short-term rental. And then again, we talked about the pets a little bit. And I think that's important to note, because when we talk about rules, understanding them and asking those questions to begin with is going to give you great peace of mind and comfort moving forward, and understanding that the HOA is not there to make things difficult for you. They're simply there to make sure that the community is working for all of the residents, and the reason that you moved there to begin with is being honored. And that's important. All right, so we have another topic coming up. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and go to word, because it just ties into what we just said. So take a second, take a sip of water, and then here's the word.
Oh, now come on, Amy, tell me what's the word.
Okay, so the word is snowbird. I mentioned it here just a second ago. I mentioned snowbird just a second ago. And snowbird, just like the birds fly south for the winter, that's really what the term snowbird is. It is actually, I believe, a term of endearment. If anyone is offended by that, please know that it's not intended that way. But in Florida, for instance, there are a lot of snowbirds. There's a lot of people that live up north because that's where their roots are. That's where their family lives. That is where they are most comfortable living the majority of their life. However, the cold weather is just too much. They don't like it anymore. And so therefore they will come and they will snowbird in the warmer, more southern states. While it's freezing cold and snow blizzards and everything up north, they're now basking in the sun, enjoying those beautiful amenities. So that is the term snowbird. So if you were a snowbird, let me know. But yeah, they're just flying south for the winter. They're just coming south for the winter. All right, so on to our third topic, which is, it's financial and long-term considerations. This is important too, and I am actually going to talk about this because this is really, really, really important. And remember, if you know me, then you know I'm very transparent. I like to tell you everything that I can, the good and the bad, the things that you should be cautious of, or the things that you should be considerate of, or the things that you should be excited about. HOA fees. This is the biggest thing that I hear from people. They're like, oh my gosh, the HOA fee is ridiculous. And then I have to kind of say, here's my 2 cents. Okay. So for instance, there is a 55 plus community, and the HOA fee is $596 a month. Yikes. That's a lot, right? People might think that's a lot of money, but they have resort style pools with all of those classes, fitness centers. They have like a snack bar, like a place where you can go and get drinks and have lunch. You can get some chicken tenders and have some fun. You've got all of the classes, all of the different amenities. Your lawn maintenance is taken care of. It's guard gated. There's just so many things that the community provides. And then I tell them, hey, I live not too far. And guess what? I pay $220 a month for my HOA fee, and our community has a small pool, which is typically not working. There's a fitness center that is not big enough to really house anybody. And there's a big playground for the kids, but I don't utilize that because my kids are all older. But I pay $220 a month for that. I pay, what do I pay? I actually wrote this down. I pay $200 a month for someone to come mow my lawn and do the landscaping. It's $200 a month. So now we're at $420 already, right? I also have pool maintenance because I have my own pool. So we can consider that because I have to take care of that myself. That's $175 a month. If I were then to also include things like the pesticide treatments that I do for my lawn and for my house, if I were to include the lawn where they aerate or they seed or they lime or they remulch or the flowers and all of that, now we're talking that's like another 166 a month, and that's not including the flowers that I have to replant. So I'm spending, not even including the actual flowers that I have to buy for my own property, $761 a month. And to live in a resort style community where all of that exists for $596 to me is a bargain. So it's really about the perspective. Now, I see a lot of people are freaked out by the HOAs because they may come from an area where there's no HOA, or it's very, very minimal because there's no real amenities and there's really no oversight. It's really just a formality. So I understand it's all about perspective, but I also think that you should think out of your own understanding of HOA to understand what most communities are going to provide and what you're getting, and where is the economical balance on that HOA fee. And that doesn't mean that you should just, gloss over it and not care about it. It's just about understanding, okay, well, this community and right down the road at my community, this is what I'm paying and this is what you're paying. And look at all the stuff you're getting that I'm not getting. I don't get any of that stuff. Like, that's not included. And by the way, some of these communities might even include cable and internet. Yeah, that's right. Some of these communities in your HOA may even include some of those additional things. So that's important to note exactly what is your HOA paying for? What is it covering? And you might find in the long run that paying that rather large HOA monthly bill has saved you from paying 5, 6, 7 others that probably would have amounted to substantially more than that. So keep that in consideration. The other thing I want to talk about is the resale considerations. So resale considerations is important because let's just be honest. The 55 plus demographic is here. You've eliminated an entire buyer pool of people that might be out there looking for a home that is not even looking at yours. They can't even look at yours because they're not of that age demographic. So when buyers are out there, you're only able to really market to a specific group of people. So is that going to be harder? Yes. Is it going to take longer? Probably so. But does it mean it's unachievable? No. It just means you as the homeowner need to have that expectation of if something happens and you end up selling this home, how is that going to affect you? The property value may or may, it's a house, guys. It's just like any other community and market. We're subject to outside influences that we don't get to control. So you might purchase in a 55 plus community, which is the hottest ticket. And then you go to sell your house and there's exclusivity, there's recognition, there's location, and you may make a lot of money off the sale of that. Or you may have a home and nobody wants it because there's just no buyers out there at that time looking for a 55 plus community in your area that likes your floor plan with the interior that you chose. It just takes longer. So I always tell people what you're investing in when you do your 55 plus, you're investing in you. You're investing in your quality of life. You're investing in what your future is, what this little chapter, what this part of your life, what this season of your life is going to be. And yes, it's important to think ahead, of course. But I a really funny thing that I've had a lot of clients saying, because I tell my clients everything. I want you to see everything full circle. And so we talk about that. I said, I know you're not thinking about selling a house that you haven't bought yet, but it could potentially be more difficult. But everyone loves it. They're excited about the community. And they almost every time my clients will say, that'll be my kids' problem. And it makes me laugh because they're like, hey, this is going to be my house. And if I go, and then my kids are going to have to deal with the resale part of it. So point is, don't necessarily purchase for what that's going to, sorry, all my dogs are here now, to buy it for hoping that you're going to have like all this, bundle of equity. Remember where we are in the season of our lives, where we are. Do this for the investment is in you. The investment is today, tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month, next year. Are you having fun? Are you utilizing those amenities? Are you filling your life with fun and laughter and friendship? And are you doing things like that? Because that is the true investment in these 55 plus communities. And I believe that at the bottom of my heart. And the other thing to note is it's not necessarily going to be the forever home, right? There are situations, sometimes people move because they want to get closer to friends or family. Maybe they have a health issue that they didn't have before, and so that requires a little bit more care. So they need to be closer to friends or family, or maybe they need to go into an assisted living at some point in time. There's things that happen to everyone. So it isn't always necessarily your last, forever home. It's about this season of where you are. So I think that's important to note too. And then of course, as we said, the value is going to vary for sure on these. 100%. The value is going to vary. So again, it's like I just said, this isn't just a home, it's a lifestyle and quality of life investment for you. And that is, I think, one of the most important things for you to really consider. So with that, I want to, what time are we at? 9:52. Okay. Remember, we're premiering, I can say it, premiering a video of a 55 plus community home in Moseley, Virginia here at 10:05. So I'm going to try to wrap up with some of these other things. So let's go to market. Okay. So I'm going to go to market. So real quick, between Florida and Virginia, which again, as a realtor, I'm licensed in both of these areas. If you're looking in other states, I absolutely can still help you. I can refer you to some of my trusted colleagues that are in those areas. But if you are looking specifically in Florida and Virginia, I'm your girl. And I'll give you those phone numbers here shortly. But in Florida, one of the reasons that people like Florida for your place of retirement, which by the way is the #1 top state in the United States for these 55 plus communities. Warmer weather all year round. There's no state income tax. Many of these communities truly have resort style amenities because with the weather being warm all year, they really can utilize and maximize all of that outdoor space and those pools and things like that. Healthcare and retirement services are relatively strong. There's a huge snowbird demand because, again, a lot of people live up north or in other areas across the country, but they just want to come and kind of spend a few months during the winter months at home, come to Florida and kind of camp out and get warm. Central Florida is huge because of the proximity to Disney. Disney is a determining factor for many, many, many people for whatever they think or feel about Florida. It's almost always in the conversation. And again, it is the #1 state in the United States for these 55 plus communities. I believe there are almost 1,000, I don't know the exact number, but almost 1,000 55 plus communities just in Florida. So in Virginia, if you're thinking of Virginia, I have to tell you, it's my home, right? I love Virginia. I missed terribly the Four Seasons, which is one of the biggest lifestyle advantages when you live in Florida, is that you do pass time differently, I feel. In Virginia, you get a beautiful spring, glorious spring. You get a really nice summer. It's hot. If you like that hot, if you like that sun, if you like the humidity, you're going to get that. You just don't get it all year long. You're going to get it for 3 months. And then you're going to have the most gorgeous falls where the leaves are changing and just driving down, just absolutely gorgeous. When you're out and you see the fall season, the weather changes, things become crisp, the smells are different. And then you have winter. And then you can celebrate those holidays where the weather is colder and you feel like, okay, well, this feels right. Because I will tell you, living in Florida, sometimes Christmas doesn't feel the same when it's not cold. It doesn't. But if you like snow, depending on where you are in Virginia, you may get a snowfall. You may get some flurries, but you're not going to be digging out under 6-7 feet of snow, most likely, knock on wood. So it's a great place to consider those Four Seasons without the real extreme aspects that you might have in other states. Excuse me. There's a strong mix of affordability and value. Excellent healthcare out and about. Proximity to the major cities is huge. Just like in Florida, you really do have so many different things to see. But one of the things that I've always bragged about with Virginia is that you can be at the ocean front in Virginia Beach 1 minute, and then a few hours later be in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's amazing. And then in between, you can be just totally immersed in history there with the historic triangle of Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Yorktown. And that's just that. Like you can go skiing, you can go water skiing, and you can go snow skiing. All of these things are just, a few hours away from each other. So it really does give you great proximity to all of those types of things, as well as major cities, of course, like DC and Richmond and Virginia Beach, just to name a few. All right. And let's see what else is there. Oh, the scenic variety. We just kind of talked about that. And then, of course, I've noticed that in Virginia, the communities are a little bit smaller and a little bit more personal and more intimate than some of these big grand ones that you see. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. In Florida. So there's a couple of recognizable brands here for 55 plus. Del Webb is Pulte Homes. Del Webb is a huge brand, lots and lots and lots of communities, and I have sold lots and lots and lots of Pulte Del Webb homes in these 55 plus communities. And again, I think they're amazing. K Hovnanian has Four Seasons, again, national brand. So it's not just Florida. There's Four Seasons communities, 55 plus communities in other states, including, by the way, Virginia. Trilogy by Shea Homes is another big brand. Esplanade by Taylor Morrison. They have a beautiful community in Claremont. Esplanade at Highland Ranch is a beautiful community. It's well closed out way by now, but it's another one. And then, of course, the most iconic is the Villages. The Villages is a huge, over 100,000 residents in the Villages. It is actually its own city with everything there. So we talk about not necessarily having like healthcare built within the 55 plus communities. This one kind of does. It's kind of got everything. It's got shopping. It is really mostly run by like your golf carts. Everyone has golf carts. They've chosen golf carts over regular vehicles in most cases because they can get to anywhere that they want right there. There is shopping there. There's restaurants there. There's entertainment there. There's all different types of homes there. They have daily events. In fact, our former neighbors, our first house that we purchased when we moved to Florida from Virginia, our neighbor was a musician, and he played at the Villages all the time. They have dozens of golf courses and amenity centers themselves. They have medical offices, and they also have what I call a personality feel. It is a huge, huge, huge place. We shouldn't measure everything to the Villages. It's kind of its own little. It's got its own thing going on, but it is definitely an option. All right, I'm going to keep going. Don't forget, we have the video that's premiering over at, and Allie, I think you are doing this. Oh wait, Allie says video premiere will be at 10:15. Oh, note to Amy. Okay. Thank you, Allie. Allie moved it. Thank you. All right, so the video premiere, it's giving me a few more minutes. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Okay, I can breathe now. All right, let me take a sip of my water and let's move on to our next thing. Okay, while we do that, I'm going to do wishes. Okay, so I didn't want to forget wishes. I'm probably not going to do the listings today just because I really do want this to be so focused on 55 plus. But Bob and Melinda, by the way, do you guys remember? And I'll show it to you. I will put that up. Bob and Melinda had the villa. Where was that villa? Right here. The Winter Garden 55 plus. By the way, under contract. That one is closing tomorrow, by the way. So very, very excited about that for them. And then we also have Jim and Tracy. And then we also have William and Lisa. So William and Lisa, their home went under contract. You know what? I'm just go ahead and put it up real quick. I don't know which one it was. Under contract. Where is it? It's the next one. There it is. The one on the upper right where it says Winter Garden Gated. That went under contract this past week. And FYI, we have another one of these beautiful listings I received an offer last night. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit later today with those clients and seeing if we can come to an agreement there and hopefully get that one under contract as well. Anyway, so let's move on. I'm going to go to Scoop. Okay, a Four Seasons room. All right, this is a precursor to the video that we're going to watch at 10:15. Thank you, Allie, for switching that for us. It's called a Four Seasons room. Now, depending on where you live across the country, you may have a screened-in area or just an exposed area, whether it's a back porch or a back deck or a back lanai or just a screened-in porch. there are things called Four Seasons rooms. There used to be something, and there still is something called a Florida room. Remember that? Where it's basically your back porch, and instead of screening it in, you would put glass in, and it would be like this, all weather, you could utilize that space all year round. Now there are things called Four Season rooms, and these are essentially screened in back porches or patios or decking areas where you can screen it in, but there's a special type of a window that you go up and down. So it can be open and just screen with the air coming in, or it can be closed off, making it more usable all year round, hence the Four Seasons room. So if it's spring and summer and you want to have that open so that you can have the air just kind of going through and just smell the spring and the summer, you can do that. But if it starts to get chillier and you're like, I need to kind of block out some of that cold, you pull up the extra kind of a shade, and you'll see it in the video coming up at 10:15. You can kind of pull up this extra layer of the screen / window area, and now you can encapsulate it a little bit more and make it a little bit more weather friendly for some of those winter months. So that's something I think is really important to note, because I had not seen these before, and I'm now obsessed with them. I think they're the coolest things. All right, let's go to I think I did this already. I'm not sure, but let me go to secret. If I didn't do it already, I'll do it now. Okay, so this is interesting because this is 55 plus communities are designed for independent living. They do not include built-in healthcare or long-term care services. Unlike full-service communities like Westminster Canterbury, which my grandmother lived in for years, which offers multiple levels of care, 55 plus neighborhoods are focused on lifestyle, not necessarily medical support. So that's important for you to know as well. Speaking of Westminster Canterbury, that's another brand. By the way, my grandmother, this one right here, my sweet, beautiful, let me pull her up. My sweet, beautiful grandmother was very instrumental in the original Westminster Canterbury there in Virginia Beach, Virginia. She actually lived there all through the phases, by the way. She lived there complete independent living, and then she lived with some assisted living, and then she continued into some full nursing care, all within the same walls, although different wings of Westminster Canterbury. That is something different. That is a different concept than 55 plus communities. Unlike the villages may have medical offices and things like that. But one thing to note, for instance, the one that we're going to show you at 10:15, right up the street, there is an assisted living and a memory care unit literally at the entrance of that area. It's not affiliated necessarily with it, to my understanding. It's just a conveniently located spot. So those are things that are important to know, because I know a lot of people have those questions. What does it look like for if I get sick? Well, I mean, it's a regular community, just like any other community. So you would still need to get to your doctor. If you need to go for any kind of outpatient procedures, or if there's surgeries or care, hospitals, or even, again, outpatient things, those are still things you would have to do. They're not included in your 55 plus community. Anyway, so that was, I thought, a good thing to note, because I know that people have asked about that in the past. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm going to do this one's fun. Okay, so if you've watched Coffee Time all the time, and again, if this is the first time you're watching it, we have these little segments that we like to pop in every once in a while. I thought this one was perfectly appropriate for our 55 plus topic today. This is the book club, The Next Chapter. I believe I watched it on Netflix. It was so fun. So obviously it ties in beautifully with a group of women, definitely in the 55 plus age demographic, although all four of them look absolutely phenomenal. I'm so jealous. Absolutely beautiful. Diane Keaton, Jane Fonda, Candice Bergen. Who else did I miss? Diane Keaton, Jane Fonda, Candice Bergen. Oh, Mary Steenburgen. Yes. All four of them beautiful. It's a really fun movie to watch. So if you're looking for something to kind of, what maybe, well, I guess you probably wouldn't have seen this segment, but maybe you go back and watch this again, or maybe you grab some of your 55 plus friends. Maybe you grab a glass of wine or a glass of iced tea or water or whatever it is that you like to drink, and you watch this movie, and then you can go back and watch this coffee time topic about 55 plus communities. I think that's a great tie-in, and I really did enjoy that one. That one was a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to go to a segment. Thank you, Allie, for getting this one going for us. We got to find it. Some more this or that. Woohoo! Are you so excited? Allie works like so hard and so long, and it's so frustrating. Again, those of you that have followed us, you know that Eric did all this stuff. This was Eric's forte. His whole background was in television production, and he could just do this stuff so quick and easy. And now that we don't have him, so much of this, I've had to learn very little because Allie has learned it all, and she gets us set up and ready to go for coffee time. So thank you for that. All right, so here is our coffee time, this or that. So real quick for these next few minutes while we wait for our countdown for our video premiere, let's do a couple of this or that's 55 plus editions. So type down, that didn't make any sense. Type in or jot down your this or that answer. So number one, do you want always warm or 4 seasons? And by the way, this is really going to be interesting because I'm going to use this information. So chime in, even if it's 3 weeks from now when you're finally watching the video. Always warm or 4 seasons? I'm going to be completely honest. For me, it's 4 seasons. I've lived and grown up with 4 seasons. And I will say that was the one thing that I probably, shockingly, didn't like about living in Florida was that it was constantly warm. That may be absolutely heavenly to some people, but to me, I feel like your life is more full and your time passes with more, I don't know. I don't know. I just love the seasons. I love to be able to just enjoy all the different seasons. I like it to be chilly. I love fall, always my favorite. I like snowfall. I don't want to live in it every day, every year, but I would like a few snowfalls. But of course, I also like my beautiful bright sunshine and my warmth and being able to, take the dogs out at 3:00 in the morning and not, have it be freezing cold. All right, number 2, resort living or traditional neighborhood. This is important too, because remember, not all of these 55 plus communities that we have talked about are big and grand like that. Some of them are much smaller and more intimate and more simple with their amenities. And that is going to be very indicative of where you are across the country. Even in Virginia, we've got beautiful amenities at these places, but they're not the big resort necessarily like you would see in some of the Florida communities. So yes, go, 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 go. Keep answering these questions. Daryl says, woohoo, great bumper, Allie. Thank you, Daryl. Ames says, always warm. Who else says warm? Kim says warm. King of Miami says a traditional neighborhood. Me too, my friend. Me too. King of Miami. I was like, king of the neighborhood. King of Miami. Me too. Jay says resort living. So again, this is why these communities are important, to find the one that fits with who you are and what you're looking for. So again, feel free to pop these in. Number 3, this is a fun one. Golf cart or a car when it comes to proximity to getting what you need. And I say that because some like the villages, everything is there and you just take a golf cart. But if you needed to go shopping, candidly, I don't think I could go shopping on a golf cart. I don't think I could lug back all the bags on a golf cart. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just putting it out there. Even groceries, I can't, but maybe if I was a little bit different, maybe that would be fine. Maybe it would teach me to only get what I need. But golf cart or car. And again, keep on chiming in, even if you are running late with, because I know that some of you hear this a few seconds after it's actually being said. I love that. Number 4, social scenes or calm routines. We got 5 minutes left before our premiere, so we're going to pop over in a minute. Let's try to get these last few out. Number 4, social scene or calm routines. Ooh, that one is a hard one for me. I personally, knowing who I am at my core, I love people, but I love my core group of people. I don't know that I would be brave enough to partake in all of the amenities and activities and the social scene that some of these places have. When I see videos of the villages on the news, that is not me. That is not me. You will not find me there. Some of the more traditional ones that I have seen that are a little bit smaller, I could absolutely see myself in, because it's a little bit more traditional, and the amenities are really there as a place to go if you want to jump in the pool, but it's not a place where you feel like you have to go and be always surrounded and everything's always at a level 10. And the last one, number 5, close to everything. Ooh. Or tucked away and quiet. Would you like to be close to everything, or would you like to be tucked away and quiet? And I think this is really important too. You know, a lot of people, where you grow up is really what you feel in your heart. Either are you trying to stay with that as you retire and as you get older, or are you trying to flip the switch and get a whole new lifestyle out there for yourself? Are you trying to go, look, you know what? I've been tinkering around in my backyard, my 5-acre plot of land that I've got in my house, and all of that, and it takes me 15 minutes just to get to the main road. I'm done with that. I want to retire where it's busy and vibrant. Then you can do that. Some people are like, no, I want to stay on my 5 acres. I want to keep tinkering around. So these are important questions. Okay, so as I get ready to go here, I'm going to do the new promo here as well. Remember, I am dual licensed, Virginia and in Florida. If you're in Florida, Amy at heartandhomeorlando.com. 407-848-8042. Richmond is Amy at heartandhomerichmond.com. And that one is going to be 757-329-0055. And remember, we're going to switch over. Allie, I think, has given you the link, but we're going to pop on over so that you can see the 55 model in Mosley. And we're going to get going on that for us. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. Boy, this has been fun. Lots to talk about. I wish we had more time, but as always, please remember to stay safe, stay well. Remember, I love you. Pop over so you can watch this with us. I'll be chatting along in the video. And as always, happy house hunting, my friends and family. Love you guys. Bye.